Welcome back to another episode and the final 2025 episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. I'm your host, Tara Renze, and I cannot believe that we are approaching the end of 2025. It seems like we just started this podcast yesterday. And I want to first off start this podcast by thanking each and every one of you who have listened, who have shared, who have chimed in, all of my guests. And I got to share some statistics with you because it's kind of mind-blowing, honestly. You know, I record these episodes and I do listen to them often just because I want to hear the end result, especially the interview ones. It's so curious to listen back and learn even more from the guests. But so often, I record it and then I have an amazing producer. Her name's Zoe, which by the way, Zoe, thank you for making this podcast what it was. I could not have done this without you. I really could not have. You helped Ben this summer. My son was our intern and he learned all about the podcast world from Zoe. But together we've created something truly incredible. I'm going to share some of these stats with you. I literally am like mind blown. First off, top 10% of podcasts globally, according to Listen Notes. Top 10%. That's insane. Top 10% overall, officially. Apple charting self-improvement show, reaching audiences across 50 countries and 635 cities. Say what? My podcast? 50 countries, 635 cities, 3,300 all-time downloads / listeners. That's what that means. With 1,300 hours of listening time. That's insane. Let's see. It's performing, Be Who You Came to Be is in the top 25% of all podcasts worldwide, which is a remarkable milestone, this says. That's from Buzzsprout. Let me see here what else. Okay, so here's the other thing. Like I pay attention to Buzzsprout, but YouTube is kind of like, I get nervous watching myself on camera. And we've come a long way with the studio. When we first started, it was pretty tragic. Like I had a ring light. I look like the clown, the emoji clown that you see. So we got the ring light figured out. I am planning to upgrade the studio even more for next year because I have got a really exciting announcement. You're going to have to stick around to the end of the podcast. This isn't going to be a super long podcast. Because I have an exciting announcement and it's a call for guests. So you got to find out if you qualify because I'm looking for some really kick-ass, cool, ordinary / extraordinary guests. But YouTube, almost 90,000 total views, 89,164, 654 hours of watch time. That's crazy. Greater than 999% growth in both views and watch times over 2025. Tara's listeners and viewers have spent over 2,000 hours, 83 days connecting with me, my message, and the guests. And so, you guys, thank you so much. It means so much to me. I've gotten so many messages over this year of people who have told me their stories, have told me how much they enjoy the show, how it's changed their lives. It's elevated their self-regard. They think about themselves differently. Some truly notes that took my breath away and stopped me in my tracks and made me thank God that I decided to go ahead and fulfill this butterfly goal dream of mine, which was to launch this podcast. A friend said that she used the podcast to talk a friend out of suicide who was just didn't think they could go on with life anymore. And she was telling her things that she had heard from the episodes and from the show. Just totally life-changing. I just got a message just last week from someone who said, your podcast always brighten my day and keep me going, keep me, fueling my butterfly goals and everything that I'm up to, honoring my authenticity and being who I came to be. So I thought what we could do today, I'm going to leave you guys with 5 reminders. And the last one is a reminder / call to action for next season. And it's really exciting. I'm going to tell you guys some other exciting things I have going on that have to do with this last reminder / call to action, because 2026 is going to be a totally kick-ass year. Okay, but first and foremost, one of the biggest takeaways from the Be Who You Came to Be podcast this year was you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are data, not facts. 80% of your thoughts every day are negative, biased, and repetitive. Your mind was wired to protect you, not to get you to step out of your comfort zone and do wildly audacious butterfly goals. You have to think of your thoughts as data. That's just your mind telling you things, alerting you to things, If you don't get my Tuesday tips, I did a whole Tuesday tip about your mind. Your thoughts and emotions are data, not facts. Today, you can get it by going to tararenze.com/sign up, and you'll get my Tuesday tips. They're Tuesday emotional intelligence tips. But if you treat your thoughts like facts, they control you. If you treat your thoughts and emotions like data, you control them. What are they trying to tell you? What do you need to know from this? When I left the corporate world, my mind was going crazy. I was scared to death. I could not believe I had done such a thing after I worked my ass off to climb the corporate ladder, to leave it all behind. And my thoughts were this: you are crazy. Everyone is talking about you. I felt shame almost, like people were disappointed in me. I made up all of these kooky laruki things. And the truth was, I was rebuilding my confidence. I was starting something new. And when we start something new, we don't start at the top. We start at the bottom. We start with that first courageous step. And that requires a lot of courage. And rarely does doing something brave or courageous come without a side of uncertainty, of doubt, of negative self-talk. So you have to remember that doing courageous things, your mind is going to be really playing tricks on you. You are not your thoughts. You get to control what you believe and what are your truths, how you decide to show up.
Hey, it's Tara here, and I've got some big news. My brand new second edition Be Who You Came to Be book is finally here. It is loaded with new secrets, new stories, and emotional intelligence tips designed to help you create, own, and live the life that each and every one of you deserve and desire. You don't need another self-help book. You need a roadmap to bring you back to exactly who it is that you came to be. The book has a fresh new look. It has this beautiful wrap cover on it. However, hiding underneath it is that original gold foil and ivory cover designed to sit on your coffee table to inspire you daily to go all in on exactly who it is that you came to be. In addition to the book, yes, I've updated the journal too, and I am obsessed. The journal is full of quotes, of prompts, and places for your wildly positive affirmations. You can head over to my website to pre-order your copy on Amazon, or as an insider, you can snag one today. This isn't just a book, it is your guide to being exactly who it is that you came to be. It's one of those things like, you are not your thoughts just because you're angry. And hey, look, I get angry. We all get angry. That's a human emotion. That's a natural response to when something happens. You can be angry and not show up angry, not, put your anger and negativity on other people. You're all entitled to a bad day. You're not entitled to give someone else a bad day. So you are not your thoughts. You get to choose how you show up, regardless of how you feel. Reminder number 2, stop comparing. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else. Like, you didn't come to be them. We love to compare. We live in a society that loves to compare. We pretty much benchmark everything. If someone asks you, how was it? It's not uncommon that you give a comparison to something else. If they say, hey, how was that new Mexican restaurant? You would say, I like it, but I like Jose Peppers better, or whatever your favorite Mexican restaurant is. We love to benchmark and compare. And it works for so many things. It does not work for human beings, for authenticity, especially for you to compare yourself to other people. You are you. You were born blessed with all of your own gifts, talents, authenticities, passions, and purpose. And it's up to you to go all in on those on a daily basis. You weren't wired to be more like Bob or Beth or Susan, or why am I only giving you 70s and 80s names? I don't know, but you weren't wired to be more like them. You were wired to be you. So as you know, the little mental fitness hack is to replace comparison with admiration. Generally, when we're comparing ourselves to someone else, we see something there that we like. We see something that we're like, ooh, that's curious. So for me, as a keynote speaker, it's not uncommon for me to compare my talk and what I do to other keynote speakers. And look, sometimes I'm like, wow, they're really good, and I feel small. And other times I'm like, oh, I think my content's better than them. And I feel, good, I guess. But the truth was, like, I didn't come to be them. I'm not competing with them. I don't have their same message. I don't have their same background. I don't have their same resume. I don't have their same cadence. I don't have their same story. Our brands are different. Our audiences are different. And there's something for everyone. And hey, I get it. Like, I live in a
an entire career of rejection. I live in an entire career of rejection. People, they're looking for a speaker. They're looking for someone to come into their organization. They say, what about Tara Renze? No, she's not for us. Occasionally, they do say I'm for them, and I have a very successful career, but you have to know that like for every one yes, I probably get 10 no's. And I would think that's being generous if you think about how many events there are out there. So you're not going to be right for everyone. You have to find out what works for you, what's good for you. So for me, when I'm comparing myself to these other keynote speakers, I started admiring them and think like, God, what do I really like that they do? Would that work for me? Could I think about ways that I could elevate what I'm up to dial deeper into what I'm up to and my brand and my message? And then you know what I do? I give him a heart, I give him a like, I give him a comment. I say, I love what you're up to. Keep shining. The world needs this message. Be who you came to be. I see them at a conference or an event or at an industry meetup. And I'm like, oh my God, I love what you're up to. What you're putting out on social media is so powerful. And it stops me in my tracks every time. When we live in a world of abundance like this, doors naturally open. Good things come to us. Where if we're living in a world of, roadblocks and we're putting up barriers all over and we're increasing unnecessary boundaries and we're afraid to share anyone else's content because God forbid, what if someone likes them? I see this all the time. Put yourself out there and find out who shares you, who's cheering for you. And those are the most abundant people in the world. Less comparing, more admiring, okay? You didn't come to be them. You didn't come to be them. My grandmother wrote the note to my son, Ben, be who you came to be, love will guide you, almost 2 decades ago. She didn't say, Ben, I want you to be as much like your father as you possibly could. And then imagine if we raised him to try to just be exactly like my husband, Scott. Like, it would be a terrible life to live, to feel like you were never enough, that you were always meant to be more like someone else and less like you. And how amazing is it when you embrace the idea of being exactly who you came to be, that all of your authenticities, passions, purpose, your success, everything's already inside of you. It's all there. If you're willing to unlock it, to turn the lights on, to chip away at it, and to be exactly who it is that you came to be. Authenticity attracts. This is secret number 3, something we talked about all year. When you put yourself out there as exactly who you came to be, you attract the right people. You find those raving fans, the people who want you to win. You put the people who are not cheering for you, who are not for you, up in the nosebleed sections of your concerts, because why would you want them on the front row? Every time you honor who you are, in your work, in your relationships, how you dress, how you show up, you give other people the permission to do the same. And that is as your best self. As your best self. This is not a permission slip for you to be loud or mean or obnoxious. I hear people say, oh, that's just who I am. No, that's not who you are. When you're showing up negative and you're gossiping and you're, being loud and rude and overly aggressive, that's not who you are. That's not who you are. That's not, being who you came to be is not a permission slip to be toxic. Be who you came to be. Don't forget the tagline, love will guide you. Love will guide you. Be who you came to be. Love will guide you. But here's the thing. You didn't come to blend in. You came to stand out. You came to be you. You've got to be bold and be real. And you have to remember that the only competitive advantage that you have in your life is your authenticity, all of your God-given gifts. And once you're ready to fully embrace those, chip away, unlock, and reveal, then, and only then, does the world start to give it all back to you? Does it all start to bring you the people who love you? I think you can think of a relationship, what you've been in, where you've tried to be something that you're not. I remember I dated this guy once and we were very different. I was kind of he was more of a hippie. I liked fashion and makeup, and our worlds just, they weren't alike. And I tried to change who I was. I tried to be something different, and it just didn't work. it just didn't work because I wasn't honoring who I was. And you've seen this in your relationships too, where, you try to be something you're not for acceptance, for love. And anytime you do that, none of it's genuine. None of it's authentic. And it doesn't even feel good. It doesn't feel good. What feels better than anything? When you do something so silly, so outrageous, so funny, and you're with people that you love, and you guys are all dying laughing, and you are unapologetically you. You can be kooky and funny and goofy, and you can laugh at yourself, and you feel no embarrassment, no shame, because you are who you are, and you're with the people who love you unconditionally. That is authenticity. Find those people. Put those people in your life. And to do it, you're going to have to shine your authentic light. You got to get mentally fit. This is number 4, reminder number 4. Just like your body needs exercise, so does your mind. Emotional intelligence isn't about being perfect. It's about practice, and it requires you to be mindful every day. Every day. Every day I work on my mental fitness. Because guess what? You can't train your brain not to have negative thoughts. Like, it is just not the way the brain works. The brain is a firing messaging center that's constantly working based on your past experiences, things that you've gone through, things that you've read, things that you've seen, and it's trying to keep you safe. So anything is an alert. And, I loved when we had Allison Levine on the show. She said when she's in alert fear mode, she's actually more cautious. She thinks about things more. So if you actually trained your brain in that notion to say, hey, it's giving me all these things because it wants me to be on my toes and alert, not to believe it, but just to be alert, to be aware, to know what could be out there. But it's not a truth. It's just like, hey, I'm observing. A tiger is not going to jump out and get you, which is what your brain was trying to keep you from happening at one point in time. But it requires you to be mentally fit. It requires you to say, hey, I understand that the brain has 2 operating centers. It has the back part of the brain where all of the negative thoughts live. It's where I spend 80% of my time, in this back part of my brain. It's also where all the stress and cortisol is being flooded into my body. And then I have this other operating center, the front part of my brain, where all of my positive thoughts live, my curiosity and courageousness and love and empathy and self-regard and self-love all live in this front part of my brain. And I can be mentally fit enough to say, oops, I understand there's a negative thought. Tara, you're not capable. This is stupid. You have imposter syndrome, all that. And then I can say, oh, wait, you know what this means to me? Imposter syndrome means I'm doing good. It means that I'm seeing a future version of myself. It means that I'm not getting complacent with where I'm at, but I know I can do more. I know I can achieve better. And I got this. That's the difference. That's being mentally fit. Imposter syndrome. I had a coffee yesterday with a gal who is breaking into the speaking industry. She's going to be wildly, hugely successful. I'll get her on for the next season for sure. And we were talking a little bit about imposter syndrome. And she was like, do you have it? I'm like, girl, all the time. All the time I have imposter syndrome. And here's the thing. The minute I stop having imposter syndrome is the minute that I'm going to worry a little bit about myself, because it means I'm overly confident. It means that I'm no longer challenged. And it means that I'm not growing. Like, imposter syndrome is the first sign that you're on the right track. And I believe it's seeing who you came to be. It's seeing that 2.0, 3.0, 6.0, 10.0, 20.0 future version of yourself. But if you're not mentally fit, imposter syndrome will take you down. But for a mentally fit person, imposter syndrome is like, all right, girl, yeah, I see what's going on here. Good. Because you're seeing that future version of yourself that's going to kick even more ass and is going to have even more love and more abundance and more empathy and more amazing relationships in her life. Go get her. Go catch her. Go. Okay. Finally, to be who you came to be, you have to take the first imperfect step by creating and launching and fulfilling a butterfly goal. We've talked a lot about butterfly goals this year, and I'm going to tell you why in a few minutes here, but I want to remind you a little bit about why butterfly goals are so important. We grow up trying to have self-discovery. We try new things. You can go back and think about your childhood, everything that you tried, whether it was sports or music or art or theater or whatever it was. Like you tried a ton of things. You took different classes. You knew that you liked English and weren't so great at math, but you worked extra hard because you wanted to get an A. Like you were constantly pushing and changing and trying and doing. And you weren't afraid to do it. You weren't afraid. Like there's a chapter in my book, Put on the Skates, and it's about when I took my boys skating, ice skating for the first time. They didn't give a shit that they kept falling down, that their pants were wet, that they, couldn't figure it out. Like they didn't care. They weren't self-conscious. They weren't like, oh my God, what's everyone going to think of me? They were just determined to learn how to skate. And then they wanted to do it again. They wanted to do it all over again. But what happens is we do all these things, and then we get into our 20s where we're supposed to be adults. We're supposed to have it figured out. When people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so we do the things, right? We go get the job, and we keep working, and then we find a spouse, and we settle down, and we have a couple kids, and we get a house. And we keep working, and we have another kid, and we keep working and working and working and working. And we're like, I want to achieve more. I want to make more money. And once I do that, then I'm really going to be fulfilled. And we're like, whoa, why am I not fulfilled? Why do I feel like I'm having a midlife crisis? It's because you stopped doing the little passionate things that you love, the little butterfly goals, trying new things, stretching yourself, because you put all your eggs in the career and family basket, which, hey, those are great baskets. I got a lot of eggs in my family and career basket, and I love everything about that. But when I start working on me, when I start saying, what does Tara want to do? What would be a cool thing for me to personally work on? That doesn't have to do with money, that doesn't have to do with success, that just has to do with something I've always wanted to do. And I've got a lot of crazy things that I've done. I went on the game show. I said, I'm going to get on that damn game show. I'm going to go get on the game show. And I figured out a way to make it happen. I wrote the book without a publisher, without no idea of how I was going to get the book in anyone's hands. I just figured it out. Just so you know, all of these things, yes, they're career-oriented. Well, the game show wasn't, but the book was, the podcast was. They were not money makers. I actually spent money to do that because those were passion projects. Starting this podcast this year, it's been an expense for my business. And I've loved every episode of it. And I have grown just as much as the podcast has because I've put myself out there. I don't know if you remember, the first episode of this year was supposed to be me solo, and I was too scared to do it. I did the safe thing. I invited Heather White, who's always the safe option and always the amazing option and always my favorite wingman. And I said, Heather, do the show with me. And she said, of course I'll do the show with you. And then I started to courageously get those butterfly wings. And I started to go out on my own and figure it out and do it alone. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. What's your butterfly goal? I had recently a speaker friend, Diana Candor, who's amazing. Go follow her. And she had a butterfly goal of learning how to do a handstand. A handstand. She was like, I'm going to learn how to do a damn handstand. She did 3,000 tries later. If you go check out her Instagram, it is an amazing journey of personal accomplishment, belief. She was falling on her freaking head. Like, it was wild. And then she started to see those changes happen, right? She started to make it on her hands for more than a second without falling on her head. And now she has all these badass pictures of her like in front of the Eiffel Tower doing a handstand. I'm like, maybe I need to learn how to do a handstand. That is pretty freaking cool to learn how to do a handstand. There's so many things. Someone, a gal that saw me speak recently messaged me and said, you know what my butterfly goal is? It is to put up a mural in my city that people want to take a picture in front of, and I want it to be butterfly wings. She has butterfly tattoos, a butterfly necklace. She is so into butterflies, and she said, that's what I want to do. I've always been an artist, and that's what I want to do. I said, oh my God, go make it happen. And I can't wait to fly to your hometown and get my picture in front of your mural. The other day, someone told me they wanted to start a bed and breakfast. We talked about the guy who wanted to grow tomatoes. Like, these don't have to be writing a book or starting a podcast. They could be something that you always wanted to do. One of my butterfly goals for next year, if you've been following me on Instagram, you know that we've been redoing our main room. And I was a theater and voice major in college, and I love singing, but I kind of, put it on the back burner. And my husband is a guitarist and he loves playing guitar. And now we're going to have this really cool room that we can sit in and make music together. And so my goal is that we get, we have some songs that we can pull out, that we can sing, that he can play, I can sing. It'll be so fun. That is one of my 2026 butterfly goals, is to, get a little show together when people are like, what do you have? I'm like, I don't know. What should we do? And we kind of act like, we don't know what we're going to play. And then we just kick ass. That's a butterfly goal of mine. You know what else? Another butterfly goal of mine is learning to salsa dance, learning to do some really cool dances, and to also just learn a kick-ass, quick routine that I can do at a party that just makes me look like a great dancer. I get stalked all the time by TikToks of all these amazing dancers, and I'm like, I just need to learn a couple moves, just fun little butterfly goals. What are yours? What are yours? Because when you tap into that person and you start to achieve these small things, it changes the way you show up. It makes you confident again in your authentic self. It's fun. It's fun. You're going to have fun with it. You're going to probably be frustrated at times with it, but the fulfillment of it is going to allow you to persevere and to be tenacious and to go all in. And then by striking that butterfly goal, you give other people the permission to do the same. Now, I want you to imagine from a company-wide perspective, if you worked in an organization that said, hey, rather than doing smart career-focused goals this year, we're going to challenge every single person in this company to ignite a butterfly goal. What do you think would happen with that organization? What do you think would happen? You think people are going to be skipping work and checking in on their butterfly goals? No, they're not going to do that. Because here's the thing, when we realize that someone cares as much about our growth as they do our output, we show up differently. It also changes the culture, the community. We start celebrating people for their differences, for what they love, for what they want. We give them permission to talk about it. It creates a sense of belonging. And then what does it do? It ignites innovation, creativity, belonging. People stay. They're like, oh my God, I love my job so much. They care about me. Whatever their butterfly goal was, they encouraged me to achieve it. They cheered me on. You had the camaraderie of work. The guy who grew the tomatoes told me that one of his favorite things about it was after I spoke, their company said, hey, we want you guys to go achieve your butterfly goals and we want you to share them. And some people's were pretty big. I wanted to run a marathon or a triathlon. This guy's like, I just want to learn how to grow some freaking tomatoes. And everyone's like, that's awesome. Go learn how to grow the tomatoes. He grew the tomatoes and then he brought them into the office. And sharing the tomatoes, people were so excited for him. Oh my God, your butterfly goal, you grew the tomatoes. And then they took him home and they shared him with their family. And they came back the next day and they're like, I got to tell you, those were the best BLTs we've ever had. My son, I just had a friend who gave me tomatoes and my son was like, Mom, can you put these on the weekly menu? And I was like, no, I can't because we don't have a tomato garden. And these are homegrown tomatoes that were gifted to us. That's what happens. It changes everything. So what if you started a butterfly goal club at your office? Look, if you do that, you message me and I will hop on a call with you. Because here's what's going to be happening. It's the sneak peek reveal if you've been waiting for it. I'm glad you're here. By the way, we had just another quick stat is that our episodes, people listen to 60% of the episode, which is pretty amazing. That's pretty awesome. That's a really high retention rate for podcasts, especially because our shows were an hour long a lot of times, except for mine were these solo ones. So next year, 2026 is going to be Who You Came to Be, the Butterfly Goal Edition. We are going to be having people on the show who achieved ordinarily extraordinary butterfly goals. We're going to find their journey. Our entire mission for the next season is to ignite butterfly goals across the country. I want to know what you're up to. I want to know what it is that's inside of you that you want to do. Some lady told me the other day that she always wanted to earn a gold medal. She never earned the gold medal, so she started training for a fitness competition. She's going to get a damn medal. I'm going to have her on my show. Diane, I can't wait till you come on and I can tell the whole world about your butterfly goal. What is your butterfly goal? I want you to think about it. I want you to message me. I want you to let me know. It's tara@tararenze.com. It's my email. Send me a message. I want to know about your butterfly goal, what you're up to, and if you want to be on the show. Now, here's a bigger secret. I haven't told anyone this. I haven't even put this out on my social media. So if you're still listening to the show, this is a big secret. I'm actually working on the Butterfly Goal Effect book with a company out of New York. Hopefully it's going to get picked up. We will be also working on the book next year, potentially a show. We're going butterfly goal crazy because this is how you can be who you came to be. It's the secret. to unlocking higher levels of success, self-regard, self-love, acceptance of yourself, acceptance of others. Because when we're winning, when we're working on ourselves, we give everyone else a permission to do the same. And we're working on ourselves, we're not so worried about everyone else. We're not so concerned about what JoJo's up to. We're just concerned about what we're up to. So that is what's going to be happening in 2026. I'm looking for guests. These are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I want to know, what is your butterfly goal? Or did you have a butterfly goal, something amazing and kick-ass that you already achieved? We'll launch a show with you, and then we can start teasing them. These are going to be part of my weekly newsletters. We're doing an entire butterfly goal campaign for 2026, and I need you to help me launch it and get it to take flight. So as we wrap up our final 2025 Be Who You Came to Be episode, I want you to know this. You matter, you're enough, you are loved, and the world needs you to be exactly who it is that you came to be. Thank you so much for being part of my journey, one of my butterfly goals, for being part of my grandmother's Be Who You Came to Be message, for listening, for reviewing, for believing in the podcast. And next year, guess what? It's going to be even better. So until then, keep shining, keep loving big, keep dreaming big, live unapologetically authentic, and most importantly, be who you came to be. Love will guide you.